everybody. It's time for Messy Church again. Well, it's been a funny old few months, hasn't it? It's been a summer holiday, but not like your normal school holidays, because you haven't been at school for quite a long time, have you? But now it's back to school properly. I wonder how your first week has gone. I wonder if you've had lots of different questions in your mind. Now, I can only guess the sorts of questions that you might have had, and they might be the same as mine, and they might not. Let me see. What if someone in my family gets COVID? That might be one of your questions. Will it always be like this? What if my friends won't play with me at school? It's been a while since I saw my friends. What if I'm behind in my schoolwork? I wonder if there were days when maybe your mum or your dad or your granny or your auntie were trying to get you to do some schoolwork and you just weren't in the mood. So being behind for some children might be a bit of a question. Another one is, what if I can't go to school? There might be times this winter when you're not able to go to school. What will that be like? Now, the thing about questions is they start up here in your head, but they don't stay there, do they? Sometimes they sort of come down here and they make your heart beat a bit fast, because sometimes questions can turn into worries. Sometimes they make your tummy feel all churned up and just, not really like yourself. That's what can happen when questions turn into worries. Now today you're going to hear a story about some friends of Jesus who had some questions. Are we going to be all right? Was one of their questions. What's going to happen? Would be another of their questions. And I think because of the situation that they were in, that you'll hear about in the story, I think some of their questions would have turned into worries that made their hearts beat really fast and made their tummies feel really strange and uncomfortable. So remember that as we go on to make a craft that I hope is going to help us to remember some important things. Now, in the old days, before there were sat-navs and GPSs and all these fancy ways of finding your way around, when sailors were on the sea, if there were some dangerous rocks, they had to know how to avoid them and to stay away from them to keep safe. So the way that sailors kept away from the rocks was to look out for something called a lighthouse. Now we're going to make a lighthouse, well, kind of a lighthouse today. Now what you need to start with is one of these, a yogurt carton. Not one like this that's full of yogurt, that would be no good. One like this that's empty. And I've got mine a little bit ready ahead of time. I've covered my yogurt carton with white paper and I've put on one stripe. Now I've chosen red stripes because red is the colour that we often associate with danger. We all know that when we see a red traffic light, whether we're driving or whether we're walking, we have to stop. So that's why we've got red stripes. Now, let me see if I can stick on, I hope this is going to work, if I can stick on another stripe. Doesn't matter if it's not tidy, because mine isn't very tidy. There we go, we've got one more stripe, And let's see if we can put one on at the top as well. There we go. We've got our stripes for our lighthouse. Now, have you ever been at the seaside and the waves have crashed and bashed? The sea's been calm to start with, but then suddenly, all of a sudden, when you're not expecting it, the waves go up and down and they bash and they crash and it's not calm anymore. That's what it's sometimes like at the seaside. It's not always very predictable. And that's a bit like life just now. It's not always very predictable. So we're going to make a seaside with a lighthouse. We've got our lighthouse ready. Can you remember what else we needed? We need some rocks. Now I've just had to make it up a bit here because I haven't really got any rocks that I can use. So here are my rocks. And it would be a good idea if you took the eggs out of the egg carton before you start. I haven't done that. So I'm hoping this doesn't all go badly wrong and I don't end up with scrambled egg. So I've got my seaside scene here. I've got my rocks and I've got some sea. Now the sea, when it's all nice and calm, it's a lovely blue colour, but it doesn't always stay like that. But we'll put a bit more blue in, just in case. We don't want it to look too grey. We'll put some more blue in. But when the sea is rough, sometimes it does look a bit grey and sometimes a bit frothy on top. So I'm going to put some crumpled newspaper in, just so that the sea looks a little bit rough. And the other thing I'm going to put in this sea is these questions that we had. They're all mixed up in the sea as well. Let's put them in. All those questions, the ones that can sometimes turn into worries. Now, when the sailors were sailing on the sea, they would know to look out for the lighthouse, and that would warn them that the rocks were there. But how would they see the lighthouse? The stripes wouldn't be quite enough. They would need something else. They would need something a bit like this. Can you see? It's a little light. And I'm going to put it on top of the lighthouse. There we go. So we've got, whoa, it's all a bit wobbly. We've got our lighthouse and we've got our stormy sea and we've got our rocks. Now, I don't know if you remember when you used to come to Messy Church, we had a prayer corner and we had notices in the prayer corner to remind you that we can pray anywhere, anytime, any place. We can pray to God about anything, happy things. We can say thank you to God for all the lovely things, all the happy things that we enjoy. We can ask God to help us if we're worried. We can ask God to look after our friends if they're having a difficult time. That's always good to remember. And the other thing to remember is that Jesus has promised to always listen. Mums and dads and grannies and grandpas and aunties and uncles, we all try really, really hard to listen, but we don't manage to listen all of the time. But Jesus has promised always to listen and to hear us when we call to him and ask him to help us. So I hope you'll remember today that if you have these worries, these thoughts that turn into worries and make you feel a bit scared inside, that we can tell Jesus about them. And just like when Jesus' friends were in the boat and they were feeling scared and worried because of the big waves, everything changed for them when Jesus made things different, when Jesus made things calm. So if we're feeling anxious inside, we can tell Jesus about that, and Jesus can help us to feel calm inside. So good luck making your lighthouse. I hope it looks good and shines a nice bright light. And we all hope that you have a great term back at school, and we look forward to seeing you as soon as we can. Bye.